Good evening,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sports Politicen Presents Agree to Disagree. I'm Alan Hinton. I'll be your host for the evening. I want to thank you, as always, for taking the time to join us, catching us on YouTube. In addition to catching us on YouTube, you can find us on Twitter at Sports Politicen. You can also find us on Facebook at Sports Politicen Presents Agree to Disagree. That's our page. My personal information, I'm on Twitter, A Flash79. Mr. Turner.
And John Turner. Everybody loves John. Luke Cage. I just binge watched it. Check it out. Really good.
Purvis.
uh at Perfect Purpose on any social media.
Lance.
Leonard Lynch Jr. You could me at Lynch Jr. on all social media platforms.
Awesome. So our first topic today is going to be a more recent topic. Phil Jackson and his comments about LeBron James and his group of friends. Mr. Turner will start us off.
So LeBron James took exception to comments made by Phil Jackson in an article with Jackie McMullen, who's a highly respected journalist from the Boston Globe. Um, and it was in the context of the argument about Pat Riley and how, Pat Riley likes to run his team and how they wanted to stay in Cleveland one night for obvious reasons. This is when LeBron was in Miami. Excuse me. And Phil mentioned that, no, you can't stay, in Cleveland with your mom and your posse. And that sparked outrage, especially in 2016 with the way that the social issues are now. And I'll admit, upon first reading it, it didn't nothing even struck with me. But after seeing the definition of posse and the coding of what it really means, and I can definitely understand why LeBron was upset about that. And listening to people, Amin Ellison and Steven Jackson, who's a good analyst, by the way, at least to me. Um, they were giving some insight on, Phil being condescending and saying a lot of things like that, which led credence to the fact that he said that on purpose, maybe not necessarily being a racist, but using the coding for saying that instead of saying his friends or his business partners, he used posse. And I just feel like that was very inappropriate. After reading up on it more and getting some more insight, I feel like it was inappropriate, and I feel like it denigrates the hard work that LeBron and his boys. LeBron put his boys on, Randy, Rich, and Maverick. They've definitely all made their names in the sports business, and all it does is it just makes their accomplishment. It just makes them seem less accomplished. And as a black man, it seems like as hard as we work, try to make things better for ourselves, doing it the legitimate way. You would think that a person who put his boys on and carried them with them, and then they've created names for themselves, they would just get lauded for that. But instead, you get coded words for it, and I just think that I don't really like it. I don't like it. Also, think part of the issue was Phil Jackson speaking on LeBron when really, like, I'm not going to say he doesn't have any business speaking on LeBron, but saying things like he's entitled and he doesn't necessarily like it his way. If you're the GM or the president of another team, why does that kind of comment even come up? As a fan of LeBron, I will say that he gets, I would say, preferential treatment. I would say most superstars get preferential treatment. I just don't understand why he made those comments and why those particular comments made up. Just as a black man, I don't like I don't like how that paints black people, because posse has a negative connotation to it. I feel like there was a better word choice there. Again, not accusing them of racism, but I definitely feel like a better word choice there would have made things a lot better.
Lance, what are your thoughts?
Uh, well, comments. I didn't hear about the comments initially. I heard from Turner in the group. SP. That's
Sports
all
politicking for those who don't know. Yeah, sports politicking for those who don't know. Gotta plug the group. My bad.
You gotta give it a chance to plug it. But
we're plugging a private group that can't
until Turner posted about it, and then I saw it and then researched on what he said, and immediately because the word posse, I ended up finding out about that after him. But just seeing the context and what he said, everything he said, it just, especially in the time, like Turner said, especially the times we're in right now, that just seems a little racially charged to use the word posse when you're talking about businessmen. You can have whatever feelings you have about LeBron on the court. You can have whatever feelings you have about his friends, him bringing his friends up, which is what most people do. If you want to take a prime example, look at Adam Sandler. He brought all his friends up: Kevin James, David Spade, Rob Schneider, all of them from beginning. So people do that all the time. They bring their friends up and put them on. But the way that LeBron and his people are being treated and talked about by Phil Jackson, it really irked me, because most people look at blatant racism and they say, oh, that's the only racism you can have, or only prejudices you could have. But to me, it's the underlying undertones of things that are said and how they're done and how they're perceived. He may not, like LeBron said, he may not be a racist. Phil Jackson may not be racist. I don't know. I don't want to pretend to know. But I do know that when you say posse, when you're talking about a great, you're not talking about anything positive. It was positive about LeBron, about his friends. There's so many other verbiage he could have used to describe and get his viewpoint out, that I feel like if he would have used something else, it would have had a better friend, his business partners, his friends, but posse, you think of posse, you're not thinking anything positive. You're thinking of negativity right off the bat. And that rung a bell. It looks like with his friends, with Maverick, with Rich, and with LeBron. And to me, a lot of people don't get it because it's, well, posse, you can use it, a group of friends. If you look at the dictionary definition, it doesn't seem that bad. But that's just like saying thug. They're used now in the media by different people, different races, even the black race, the African Americans here in America. It's interchangeably meaning black. When you say ghetto, you're not talking about all the ghettos, you're talking about black people. When you say hood, which is the shortened term for neighborhood, you're not talking about any neighborhood. You're talking about the hood where black people live, which all black people don't live in the hood. So from that standpoint, I took a little issue with it, and I'm glad that LeBron and his friends did step up and say something that wouldn't just let this slide. And I do appreciate that from my perspective, that black athletes are speaking up now and not just letting things slide.
I want to, instead of going on to the was it racist part of this conversation, I kind of want to touch on something that Lentz just finished talking about, the fact that LeBron and his partners, his friends, did speak up and say something about it. I think it kind of goes to show athletes are getting to a point now where they are taking their voice and using it for whatever good they can find. I first heard about it actually from Maverick Carter. He tweeted his response to it, and that was where I first saw it. And I think that it was really positive. First off, none of them have come out and tried to drag Phil Jackson's name through the mud, which is something I feel like young people are really quick to do. I love the fact that they've come out. LeBron, the most negative thing that I've seen LeBron James said was that he had respect for Phil Jackson and his loss. I think that we need to see more of that from our professional athletes, from people that are in the spotlight just in general, especially like we've said in times like this, we need to get away from being negative and show people it's still possible to get your point across without having to slander somebody else. I don't know what Phil Jackson's purpose was for using the word that he used. I think that the entirety of what he said was disrespectful to LeBron James, whether any of it was true or not. And granted, some of it probably was true. I think that, like, I think it was Turner said, there's no point in you as a GM or owner or executive for another team to be bringing up a guy who, A, your team tried to sign, and B, you've never coached, had any kind of ownership over, not to say ownership, like he doesn't own a player, but like your team has never been in any way affiliated with him other than you bringing him in, trying to take him out on dates. So you only know what you've heard. You've got no room to be talking about LeBron James. If someone asks you a question, speak the facts that you know. Him going to Miami was great for Miami. It set up Cleveland in a situation where they got two number one picks and were able to bring him back and then leave it at that. You don't know anything about Maverick Carter. You don't know LeBron James personally outside of him being in a visitor's locker room. So keep your mouth shut.
I agree with you there. All three of you guys made some really good points. Me personally, I felt like the whole situation is one of those situations that got kind of taken out of proportion. I agree there's got to be some racial undertones to what Phil Jackson said when he used the word posse. I feel that he used the wrong word, just like everybody else thinks. Also feel that the interview he had was more of a casual conversation interview, and he wasn't expecting to be like it dissected through the social media and online and whatnot, but it was. And that's his fault for not understanding everything he says is on record, and he needs to be accountable for that. Only thing I didn't too much care for was the whole LeBron saying he lost respect for him. I'm sorry, but people say things that are incorrect, and some people might say the wrong thing. But it's hard for me to lose respect for somebody from one interview. So I find that a little crazy to say that, okay, well, this is what he 100% thinks. But also, there's probably more there between him and LeBron that I don't know about. There's nothing I can do about that. But I do feel that he was wrong for what he said. But I feel that also everybody's making a deal out of this so that there is a deal. I think that he did what a lot of people did. He said something wrong, and I hope that as black people that we can give him like the Paula Dean treatment and eventually be like, okay, Phil Jackson's okay. That's all I got.
I think that the good thing about it being Phil Jackson is he's still Phil Jackson. I don't think anything he said or can say about LeBron James takes away his legacy. He coached the greatest basketball player in the history of everything. He's got a handful of rings. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
The Black Mamba?
Let's not go there. We don't have enough time for the Jordan versus.
Like, if you want to get to right, I was about to say, if you want to get to any other topics, yeah, no.
Because we will be here literally all night talking about Kobe versus MJ, and won't nobody's opinion change. But Phil Jackson's legacy is what it is. You don't have to. I don't think you have to worry about people, losing respect for him because his legacy, really, in the minds of a lot of people, has kind of stopped already. I don't think many people think of him much as a GM, so nobody really cares, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Phil Jackson, the coach, is as a deflection of Phil Jackson, the player. There's a lot of his players, governors, all this, that, who did things still or have their own prejudices, their own bigotries and races to it. I'm not saying Phil Jackson's racist. I'm saying that I wouldn't be surprised if he was. I mean, he is an old white man, an old rich white man.
Man, you might as well just come out and say he racist then. What do you mean? That's basically what you're saying.
I don't know.
That's the thing about Phil Jackson, though, is we're all sitting here saying that we don't agree with what he said and we don't like it, but we're all at the same time backpedaling and being like, but I'm not going to call him racist. He's still Phil Jackson because that's the type of presence he has. Like, he is that dude. So, I mean, that's a credit to saying that we're not trying to attack him like his legacy or anything, but we are saying that there's an issue, and that's what we're speaking on. And I think that's actually a great conversation, and it's good that it's LeBron and Phil Jackson because no matter what happens, the issue is what people are going to talk about because you can't tarnish either one of those two legacies right now. So
What it
that's a
comes
great. They
down
use
to,
those names.
what it comes down to is you've got the most popular basketball player in the world right now versus a 71-year-old white guy from Montana who used the word that he shouldn't have used. So of course the race thing is going to get thrown out there. There's not really much you can do, in my opinion, to fight that. It's in today's America. That's the first thing we're going to talk about. Anytime people of different races have a disagreement, as much as I hate to say it, racism is going to be something that gets used a lot more than it needs to, and even maybe that it probably should in the next 4 years.
Wonder why.
Oh God.
So our next topic is going to be how to improve NFL viewership. This week was the first week in the NFL where viewership wasn't down from the same week from the year before. We're going to let Purvis start off with his ideas.
Yeah, NFL viewership is definitely down. I think one way that they could get more people to actually watch the game and even more casual fans is to speed up the game. That's been the biggest drawback with football in general is that it's one of the few games there's so much stoppage outside of the actual game. Like it's been proven that in an actual 3 hour game, you physically only run for 12 minutes. And that's the knock against other major sports is that there's no consistent flow for people to actually stay in tune with the sport. For me, I'm thinking in the NFL, they need to do away with kickoffs. It's not working. It's a waste of time, and it just keeps adding to a pause in the game. That I know that you have to have the TV time for a certain period, but the kickoffs are pretty much just adding time to a game, and you're losing like attention span because you're waiting so long. There's a commercial break before the kickoff and then a commercial break after the kickoff. Why are we just standing around the field for so long? Also, I think they should cut the play clock down. They have microphones in the helmets. Like it doesn't take that long to call the plays. They can maybe start the play clock a little earlier when the referees set it as well. Another thing I think they need to get rid of to make the game faster is a 2 minute warning. Same thing as with the kickoffs, too many stoppage in the actual game. I don't mind having a certain period where you have to say, hey, we have to take a commercial break because I know you have to get paid from those commercials for the league to make its money. But there's a ridiculous amount of it, which takes away from the actual viewing of the game. Like if you're at home and you're watching a football game, you know you have 3 hours to watch that game. You got to take all these bathroom breaks because you get tired of watching the same commercials after the second or third one, anyways. Or if someone gets hurt, you're screwed because that's gonna add another 30, 45 minutes. If they get hurt in the middle of the field and don't get taken right off, that's another 30, 45 minutes. Well, I don't mind that for injuries for safety purposes, but what I can't understand is why I'm spending time watching a referee walk from one side of the field to the other side of the field to make a call and then pull his flag and be like, oh, actually, no penalty on the play. That can be expedited as well. Instead of having the referees make the calls on the field, have the referees in the boxes call down the penalties and get them going as fast as possible. Because some of these refs are in really good shape. I've seen some of them, they're kind of buff, but some of them are not in good shape, and it takes them a while, and they do a lot of conferencing, especially because people are saying that the refereeing is so bad right now. That conferencing they're doing on the field, I mean, I like hearing Gruden and Joe Buck and Troy Aikman talk their butts off, but if I'm at the game, I know that's just going to be a longer I have to sit there and watch people on the field. And that's another reason I think the viewership isn't going up is because there's just way too much stoppage.
I definitely agree. There's too much stoppage. I like some of what you're saying to an extent, and I kind of agree in a lot of ways. I think one thing that I've actually read in the last couple of weeks is finding ways to get creative with the advertisements. You don't really, especially these days, in my opinion, most of the commentary for a lot of NFL games just isn't good. It's not worth listening to anyway. Instead of having Troy Aikman and Joe Buck or Chris Collinsworth spend 30 seconds between, the kickoff team coming off and the offense going on the field, going out and talking about why they think this next possession is going to be great, that would be a good time to throw a advertisement for Budweiser, whatever the case, in the top right hand of the screen or something like that. Instead of us going completely to commercial, do something that you've seen on the Olympics or anything, like any movie that does, uninterrupted broadcast brought to you by such and such a sponsor. That same type of deal, or just completely just do a advertisement or words at the bottom of the screen. We don't necessarily need to break the commercial because like Purvis said, if I know we got 2 minutes of commercials, I'm going to the bathroom. And I feel like advertisers know that. A lot of people aren't catching them. I think you have a better chance of catching someone's eye seeing that advertisement while football is still happening or while the huddle's being broken, whatever the case, on the screen, than hoping that we stick around. I'm just comfortable on the couch and we'll watch a commercial between plays. I think that what you're saying about kickoff is 100% right. We go to commercial before and after. That's stupid. There's no point. There's no purpose. That's another time that we could, like you said, speed up the game. I don't necessarily like trying to shorten the play clock. That's just me, because it removes your ability to make, on-field adjustments. Obviously, know how the offense is becoming more popular, but I don't think that's necessarily something that we should expect to become the norm. And it also puts defenses at a disadvantage. The thing that I think definitely needs to happen, and you touched on it a little bit, there needs to be a change in officiating. Challenges take too long, and I know that everybody keeps talking about want to get it right, but we don't need to make such a dramatic thing about it. Them running off the field, going to this booth, spending an hour and a half sitting there looking at a play 45 times, and then running to the middle of the field. They got microphones, just like you said, the helmets do. They can do whatever they need to do from the sideline. We don't need to physically see them. I don't care what the referees look like. They get the call right. We can cut 45 seconds off with them doing it from the booth. I'm cool with that.
Look, y'all got some good ideas, man, and I don't want to be dismissive. I was a diehard football fan, and as a person who has just about stopped watching football, the product is just bad. Like, have y'all? And I hope that we talk about the NFL MVPs later. I think the fact that we're actually having a serious discussion about a running back as MVP tells us kind of what we need to know about the state of at least offense in the NFL. Have y'all seen the quarterbacks play this year?
What running back for MVP? What?
Ezekiel Elliott.
Oh, well, I want to touch on that. Yeah.
I would say that the players just aren't as good. We touched a lot about how Aaron Rodgers has not been the same. I feel like that's part of it. Brady has been playing well, but he missed the first 4 games. But I think where it's really the difference is not necessarily the great players, but the players at like the mid-tier players. Have y'all watched the Jacksonville Jaguars game recently? Anybody?
No.
Yeah, every week I watch
terrible.
And Blake Bortles has got to be one of the least accurate quarterbacks I have ever seen in my life. Like everybody looks at interceptions, but throwing the ball in the ground, overthrows, all of these bad plays, like that's just as bad. Like nobody wants to sit there and watch all of that all day, man. And I know my voice is raised and all of that, but it is absolutely terrible. Jay Cutler, bad. Like I mentioned, Blake Bortles is bad. Like, where are the quarterbacks? Like, I don't understand. And the NFL doesn't really market around single players, but they also put the emphasis on the quarterbacks, and you can tell that they do it. They protect them in the pocket. Cam Newton isn't as good as last year. The only really true good quarterbacks this year, Russell Wilson's been, for the most part, good. Matt Ryan's been pretty good. Tom Brady's been great.
So we're never talking about Andrew Luck falling off.
But Andrew Luck won't never on. Even as a Colts fan, like Andrew Luck wasn't ever really on like most. I just think the players just aren't as good. I just think the product overall, and I agree with y'all. There's some things that they could do with the time, but I just don't think the players are as good, man. Like, I mean, you have a lot of miscommunications with the wide receivers and the quarterbacks. You know, you got drop passes, just like, and then sometimes with the defense, you have comically bad coverages. Defenses appear to be afraid to press up because they know a penalty could be forthcoming. The fact that you can't celebrate, playing football is one of the hardest things that you can do. And if you score, you can't celebrate. You're gonna get a penalty? Nah, that's nah.
Turner took my point of view. What I was going to talk about, I was going to say it was the players route, which is what the NFL has taken, which is blaming it on the election. Beforehand, it was easy to blame on an election. You know, that was an easy scapegoat to go with. But after the election, this was the first week of games after the election, and viewership was up this weekend for these past games. Now, is that a credit to the election, or is it a credit to them actually having good games this week? So I think it's a little bit of both. But if you look at the statistics, they show that at every year when there's been a controversial election going on, viewership for all sports have been down. Like back when Al Gore and Bush were going, viewership for the World Series was down 22%. For all four major sports, that's MLB, MLB, they were everything was down. All viewership was down. So although I agree that terrible, and I attribute that more to what I've talked about before, is the CB at this time and less physicality. That to college, the players not being prepared coming in college. But I think viewership, I don't think there's anything they can really do. I think the damn commercials all the damn time, and they're not even interesting commercials half the time. Same shit over and over. And then, like you said, a commercial right after you score a touchdown, commercial right after the kickoff. God forbid somebody get hurt, like you said. Then there's a commercial after that. It's too many commercials. You're paying all this money. I understand that, but come on, man. It's ridiculous at this point. You own everything. Jeez, just let the games go. And I think it has been because the horrible referees and officials this year. I don't notice the stats on it to say that it's been up or worse than years prior, but I'm willing to bet that it's a lot worse than it's been in years prior. If you go on the list, you look at last year, the year before, even go back the last 5 years, the referees have been terrible. And I think that's a huge reason why NFL viewership has taken a dip. The election being over, like I said, last Tuesday, I think it'll spike back up, back out. But you also got to take into account that there's so many ways of watching the games now. Live streaming it on Facebook and Twitter and all the social media. So I'm interested to see how the stats stack up at the end of the year when they and see, was it really down or was it down?
I think the election definitely probably does play a part in it, but I also think I don't know if it's just me or recency bias or what, but it seems like we've had more bad games on TV this year than ever in recent memory. It seems like 2 weeks ago, and I talked about it with y'all 2 weeks ago. I didn't watch a full game because none of the games that were on TV in North Carolina were worth watching. It's hard to sit through, even as a football fan, and sit through 9 hours of bad football, just to say that you're a football fan and you watch football all day. If I'm going to watch 3 games, I don't watch 3 games that are actually worth watching. And it's just not something that seems to be possible anymore. There don't seem to be, I don't know if they're not picking the games well enough, and we're not at that point in the season yet. I guess we just got to that point where they're flexing games on TV. But if your 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and 8 o'clock game are all terrible games, why sit through them all? By the time we get to 8 o'clock, if the 2 games I watched before aren't good, I'm doing something else with my day. So that plays a part. But obviously, like you spoke on briefly, the quality is definitely down. And that's part of why, and I won't get too much into it because that's another topic altogether. But that's why I hope they do a developmental league for the NFL just to get these guys some more time to practice. Or maybe the Dartmouth thing with the little tackling robots will take off and make its way to the NBA and the NFL as well.
Yeah.
I said, and I've been saying for the past couple of years that within 20 years, football will cease to exist. Like the topic of conversation anymore isn't much with the physical trauma, like the CTE and the concussions and things like that. A lot of it stemming there was just from other things like the actual quality of play, the rules, the time. Like, but I don't. One of the reasons I disagree with the time part of it is because, like, this isn't stuff that, and we've had a lot of discussions about football. Like, this wasn't even the main thing before, and I feel like it's a thing now, only because the quality of play is down. Like, will we really be fussing about the quality of play? I mean, the time and stuff, if the quality of play was better?
No.
I
I think I might still be, because I'm thinking from viewership. I'm thinking like the more casual fans who there's people who watch NFL football just because it's a tradition, but they're less likely to watch it if it takes up so much of their time. And I'm just thinking like there's a lot of casual fans who don't watch it because they're like, I'm not gonna commit 3.5 hours of my life to watching these guys stand around when I could be doing something. I know that's not diehard sport like NFL football fans don't care about the standing around. I don't care about them watching. I like listening to Joe Buck and Troy Aikman do their commentary. It's fun for me. I'm also in another country, so I just like hearing English. But but at the same time, like that, you can't get more viewers that way. Like there's people that don't know about football. They see it on the channel. They come back 3 or 4 hours later, and the people are still standing there. And they're like, "Yeah, that's just dumb. I'm gonna keep flipping." And you got some people who they know that okay, they just scored a touchdown, so I got about 10 minutes before I have to actually turn this back on. So I'm gonna change the channel anyways and watch some reality TV in between because there's so much time in between everything that happens. And I'm just thinking for those, that's what they're trying to do to get more viewers. You have to get more people who don't normally watch it. So you have to kind of cater to them a little bit. The people who love football, they're gonna watch football. Like you said, you might not watch all 3 games because the product isn't good, but you're gonna watch the first 2 games. I'm watching the Rams, I'm watching the Texans. As much as it hurts to watch both of them, I'm watching them because I'm a diehard fan. But you know who's not watching them? My wife. She gonna watch half of the first game and be like, I'm not gonna watch all these people ruin my fantasy football. And she gonna take her ass to sleep and go do something else. Those are the people that are bringing down the viewership. The diehard fans, they're not going nowhere. We ain't going nowhere. I'm gonna watch all the football I can. But the people who don't care nearly as much, those are the people who are like, y'all need to change something. And the NFL, they're gonna have to change something eventually.
I mean, Brock Osweiler just threw for 99 yards on 27 passes? Like,
Yeah.
Oh, I know he didn't do much of anything. I watched that whole damn game.
like I still trying to figure out who wants to watch that.
And one.
I don't want to, but I do.
Is-
At some point, I'm like, okay, eventually Hopkins is gonna catch a 100-yard pass and boost some stats. It don't happen.
No, I don't think so. But do you feel like there's
You gotta have hope.
casual fans this year? Like, I don't think that we have less casual football fans right now than we've had in the past.
But that's what I'm saying is that you got the same amount of casual fans, but they're watching even less. You have a certain, there's probably a formula too that they have with diehard fans, so we're catering to them and we can get casual fans with this and that, but when the casual fans aren't watching and the diehard fans are watching less, that's when you get this viewership problem. It's a combination of the two. You're not the times of the games, I think hurts the casual fans
I don't
more,
think
and the product hurts the more hardcore fans. Instead of me watching 3 games, I'm only watching 2. I'm not watching anybody besides Texans and Rams. I'll wait till the highlights the next day. I've seen enough Jaguars, Colts, AFC South games to piss off a lifetime.
And
so every time I see them teams, I'm like, I'm just gonna watch the 2-second highlights of one team scoring and leave that alone.
And I think NFL Red Zone, like, you can just pop in, like with the Direct TV, it'll pop up. They have it pop up just for your fantasy players. And with the increase in love for fantasy football, and then how Red Zone shows it when you're in the red zone, people don't have to watch the whole game anymore. We're a society where we want what we want and we want it now. So we're not going to sit and watch a whole game. If I have a fantasy football team, I have my Direct TV subscription only pop up for and go to the games when my player's about to score or somebody I'm playing against is about to score. In the red zone, it'll have your favorite team and it'll show that you're about to score. So there's no reason to watch unless you really want to understand the nuances and intricacies of football. You're more than likely not going to watch all of that.
Yeah, I think on that as we look at the subscriptions for these different packages, for these cable networks. A lot of people are because it's too expensive, because there's so much to add on, cutting down watching the games as well. A lot of different ways of watching TV now, because a lot of people just don't watch TV as much anymore. They just get Hulu, or they just get Netflix, or they get Fox Go or HBO Go or something like that, or a Fire Stick,
Chromecast.
So many different ways to watch TV that people aren't going to just get subscriptions, pay $150, $200 just to watch these games, and then when you pay that much for the game, you see the games are bad too. Well, I'm gonna pay for bad games. So I think that has plays a part in it as well.
Fire Sticks are awesome.
All right, so our next and possibly last topic for the night, depending on how long it takes, it will be our Heisman contenders, not including or not limited to Lamar Jackson. And we're going to let Mr. Lynch start it off.
All right, so we are going to talk about candidates. I don't include Lamar Jackson because it's a foregone conclusion that he's going to be the one this year. I think as far as Turner's favorite view on things is the narrative that's been Jackson has been so strong. There's no way anyone else, unless he just out the rest of the season and does absolutely nothing. And there's really no reason to invite anyone else to New York for the ceremony because he has it wrapped up. So I'm going to try to find another candidate. We've all chosen our own separate candidates, and I've chosen actually the guy who coming into this season was supposed to win the Heisman, Deshaun Watson, quarterback for Clemson. Look at his stats, his numbers are eerily similar to what they were last year when people were sure that he should have won the Heisman. Goes. His yards are pretty much on par. His completion percentage last year ended up being 67.8. Right now he's at 66.1. Last year he threw for 4,100 yards. This year he's right at 3,000, almost at 3,100. His average yards per attempt were 8.4 last year. This year at 8. He had 35 pass touchdowns to 13 interceptions. This year he has 27 to 13. So his numbers have been pretty much the same as far as passing. I think what people have been enamored with Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson last year and enamored with J.T. Barrett and Braxton Miller and Dell and Tim Tebow and Cam Newton has been the running game and how much he ran. Last year, he ran for 1,100 yards and 12 touchdowns. This year, he ran a total of 207 times last year. This year, we're in week 10, games, he only ran 99 times. To me, 99 times for 333 yards and only 2 touchdowns, as opposed to 207 times, 1,100 yards, and 12 touchdowns last year. Now, he's still picking up yardage when he runs. He's just not running as often. And I think that's been the thing that people look at, because when you hear people talk about Lamar Jackson, they're not talking about him throwing the ball. They're talking about him running. How much when he runs, he looks like Michael Vick, who got cheated out of a Heisman anyway. But Deshaun Watson has been, and a big portion of that is people look at, oh, well, for a formidable opponent as they were last year. When they went head to head, yeah, Deshaun Watson lit up and they won, and he did the game-winning drive to give them the lead and the eventual win. He hasn't looked as good as he did last year. And I think he's fallen into the same trap that a lot of people fall into is once the spotlight comes on you, instead of finding ways to propel you or pick you up, people find things to criticize you and pick you apart on. They're picking him apart on everything. His mechanics are off. Oh, he's not throwing for as many yards. Oh, he's not running as often. Oh, he's not throwing as many touchdowns. He's throwing too many interceptions, even though last year interceptions weren't an issue when it was the exact same as this year. But I mean, that's just how it goes. Once the spotlight comes on you, you get picked apart. You don't get praised. And I think that's what he's falling into now, because Clemson, as good as the teams they were last year. And if you look at everything they lost, from Shaq Lawson to Kevin Dodd, McKenzie Alexander to Sharon Peak, Jaron Kearse, they lost so much talent last year that you'd be crazy expect Clemson to be as good as they were last year, or expect Deshaun Watson to be as good as he was last year. But he has been, as far as playing quarterback, throwing the ball from the pocket. He has been as good as he was last year. And I think the explosive plays aren't there that we're used to seeing from him. Plays that made him eat up Nick Saban in Alabama last year, which forced him to kick an onside kick just to win the game or take the momentum in the game, in the championship game last year. I think people aren't seeing that, and that's why they're criticizing him rather than watching him actually play. So for those reasons, I think he should be the Heisman candidate that I'm going to pick. Winner.
Purvis, who you got?
First of all, I'm with you, Lance. Deshaun Watson is playing well, but he'll be compared to what he did last year, so ain't no way he'll win it. So I'm going to go another route. I think that the Heisman should go to outside of Lamar Jackson. It should go to Jake Browning from Washington. Now, a lot of people don't know much about Jake Browning because he's way off in the West Coast. A lot of people don't watch the West Coast games. But what he is the most efficient passer in college football. And taking away the USC game, because it was a horrible game for him, but it's the only bad game he's played all year. Before that game, he was 34 touchdowns with only 3 interceptions. After that game, he's 35-5. Still really good stats, but that one game was his only quarterback rating under 89 for the whole season. His passing rating is actually 189.1 right now. He's only a true sophomore, so even if he doesn't win the Heisman this year, he'll be in the race for it again next year. But the guy is completing 65% of his passes on a team that is averaging 48.3 points a game. He's putting up big-time numbers. He scored touchdowns. His yards, he's at about 2,500 right now. They don't make a lot of yards because they score touchdowns. They have a decent defense, and they're playing Pac-12 teams, so, of course, competition isn't as hard. But what they're doing is they're putting their foot on the pedal, and he's driving the car. He is the leading force. He is the reason why Washington will win the Pac-12 this year, and I think that's why he should be the Heisman candidate outside of Lamar Jackson.
I think that before I get into mine, because I'm going to be short, the thing that both of those guys lack, and Lentz talked about it a little bit, and I'm sure we'll get back to it afterwards, is a rushing presence. These days, to win the Heisman, you got to be doing a whole bunch on a team that's doing really well. It's gotten away from, the guy who is doing the best, looking the best at his position, and going into the guy who's doing the most is the most exciting, so on and so forth. And like you said, Deshaun Watson isn't as exciting. No one cares about Washington as much as I hate to say it, so that hurts both of them. With that being said, the Heisman is going to go to Lamar Jackson, barring something crazy happening. But the guy that I picked to talk about was Jabril Peppers. He was the top prospect coming out of high school 3 years ago, I guess, as a defensive back. Played running back and DB in high school. And in college, he's played a lot of linebacker, cornerback, and safety. He returns kicks and punts, and also plays a little bit on offense. He's got 21 rushes on the season for 161 yards. That's 7.7 yards a carry, which isn't a lot of yardage, but the average is really good, especially for a guy who's playing defense. He's got 3 touchdowns on those rushes, 4 receptions for not a whole bunch of yardage, but he's got 4 sacks, which, considering he spends most of his time at safety, is really impressive. 1 forced fumble, and he also returned a fumble on a 2-point conversion for, I guess, which most easily defined as a touchdown, but it didn't get you 6 points because it was a 2-point conversion. Where he is the most impactful is in the return game. He's averaging 24.8 yards per return on kick returns, 17.3 on punts, which both are pretty good. Kick returns don't have the same meaning as they used to, but still being that dynamic has been huge. He's got 1 kick return touchdown. I think the thing that would keep him from being really in that Heisman conversation is the fact that he doesn't have a lot of touchdowns. If you're a defensive player or a turn man who is looking to win the Heisman, you've got to generate points. That's what the Heisman race has really come down to, is how many ways can you generate points. He hasn't done a lot of that, but he's a guy that you have to game plan for literally in every asset of the game. He's not just a guy that you punt or kick away from, because he's also playing all over the field on defense. He's a guy that will also get the ball in his hands on offense. So Jabril Peppers is a kid that you will see everywhere. Even if you find a way to not kick it to him, you still have to deal with him. And that is what makes him so dangerous. And in an era of college football where you value versatility, you value a guy being able to do a lot of different things, there's no one player who's playing the game who does more than he does, more than he has this season. I think that if he can find a way to get his touchdown numbers up, maybe pick off a few passes. He has no interceptions right now. If he could come out, create a few more turnovers, and put points on the board, he's a guy that would be thoroughly in that number 2 spot for the Heisman behind Lamar Jackson.
Well, I disagree that you have to generate a lot of points. What you really need is a legendary quarterback who had a narrative built against him, and you'll decide to finally give it to a defensive player. That's how you'll win it as a defensive player.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I had to go there. And then Peppers plays for Michigan too, so I kind of had to go there. I'm not really a college football fan, so I was going to go a little bit differently because obviously just, Lamar's going to win it. I had a different question with the Heisman for y'all. What is it about that award that seems to curse people in the NFL? Now, I don't really think they're cursed, but are they just giving the award to the wrong college players? Because I think the Heisman is more or less a best, or it should be the best player award. And if that's the case, the best player in college may not go on to have a great NFL career, but it seems as though like you have your Gino Torettas, you have the ones who win the Heisman. Archie Griffin. I don't know what he did in the NFL, but he was the only one to win it twice. And I don't believe he had a noteworthy NFL career. So what is it about this award that is so prestigious when it doesn't, and I'm not saying it has to be a predictor of future NFL success, but I guess to me, if you win an award that shows college excellence, why don't the players go to the NFL? And they don't have to be all pros all the time, but where's the success? You know what I mean?
I think there's a misconception. People think the Heisman is the best player, and it's not. The Maxwell is actually the best player. The
Mm-hmm.
best player is the winner of the Maxwell Award. The Heisman Trophy is for the most outstanding player in college football. And the thing about that is it leaves room for interpretation. Heisman winners are supposed to be different. They can't be just the best position. They have to be the best player on the field with the most upside and actually live up to that upside. You can't just be the best running back on the field. You got to be a running back who can change the game at any moment to win the Heisman. If you are the best running back in college football, you're going to win, I want to say the Doak Walker Award. There's a award for every
It
position.
is. Yeah, it is Doak
Yeah.
Walker.
So you're going to win your position award, and you should. That's kind of like winning I want to say like a all pro type thing in NFL or something like that. But what people confusing the Heisman with is they think it's some type of MVP, and it's not that. It's most outstanding player in college football. There's a lot of things that go into being an outstanding player. You have to, one, be on the national scene. You can be the best player in the world playing for some Power Five conference that's not going to playoffs. No one cares. Think about the running back at Texas, Deontay Foreman, who I think he just beat or tied Earl Campbell's record for most consecutive 100-yard rushing games. He is the best running back in college football right now, but he is not a Heisman frontrunner because his team isn't on the largest stage. Texas isn't winning games, and he isn't dominating to change those games. If Texas was 8-1 right now, we would be talking about that running back at Texas, Deontay Foreman. But we're not. But I promise you, he will win the Doak Walker Award.
But isn't that the problem, though?
No, that's not the problem. The problem is
because,
that people think that the Heisman is something other than what it is.
But then if
like the Heisman shouldn't be the holy grail in college football.
But it is though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be.
Is.
That's the problem. The problem
you have a whole trophy, but you have a whole okay, fine. Okay, I got that last part.
There's a Heisman. I think the Maxwell will tell you who the best player is. That's what the Maxwell does. But usually they try to get the Heisman and Maxwell to go hand in hand when they shouldn't. An outstanding player is someone that's special, that's different on the college scene. A Heisman player doesn't usually translate to the NFL. Doesn't always. Because they should. Because being a great player on the doesn't translate to the NFL.
And I feel like Purvis says, people put too much stock on the Heisman. That's the award that's been propped up as the award that you aspire to. But like you said, the Maxwell is for the best player in the league. Then they have the rest of the awards that they can go to. My thing is with as far as into NFL from college and NFL ball is totally different. Player doesn't mean you're a good NFL player. Just because you're in it, and there's a lot of more college, so it's a whole different ball game once you get to the pro leagues. And like you said, most of the have been the best player on the best team. It's very rare that you get a Heisman winner who's not contender who won the title. You can go back over in 2016. You can go back all the way back to 2006. If you look at it, everyone who's been in the championship, you look at Danny Werfel, Ricky Williams, Ron Dane, Chris Winkie, Eric Crouch, Carson Palmer, Jason White, Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush. Every single one of them Williams was in the championship game. Then you go to Troy Smith, Tim Tebow, Sam Bradford, RG3, Johnny Manziel, Marcus Mariota, Derrick Henry. Every single one of them, other than Johnny Manziel and Robert Griffin, were in the title game. So it's going to the best player is what's been going on.
But see, here's my thing. Like, I'm looking at the last Heisman Trophy winners, and I'm starting from 2015. I won't go too far down. Derrick Henry, Mariota, Jameis, Johnny, RG3, Cam, Mark Ingram, Sam Bradford, Tebow, Troy Smith, Reggie Bush, Leinart, Jason White, Carson Palmer, Eric Crouch, Chris Winkie.
Jason White.
Right, exactly. And I think, like, if we look at some of those names, like how many, and again, I'm not saying it has to be a perfect predictor of future success, but Jason White, Eric Crouch.
He was legit at Oklahoma, man. That's where it ended.
Define legit. How do you define legit?
Yeah, I was going to say.
He was on a contender. What you mean? That's what we said, right?
He was a great player in college.
He was
But
really
it's a lot.
good.
Okay, but here's who he beat out. No. But here's who he beat out, though. Here's who he beat out. Larry Fitzgerald. I'm not the biggest Larry fan, but come on, man. Like, let's be real.
No.
Eli, Chris Perry.
Yeah,
Eli wasn't that good in college.
No, I'm just naming. Larry Fitzgerald, Darren Sproles, Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger.
You name players who
should have won the Heisman.
You're naming other players who were not on the national scene. Just like they said earlier, you have to be to win the Heisman. Your team has to be in it to win it. All those players were great players, and it showed in the draft as well that they were great players. But the Heisman is for the outstanding. And usually the thing that sets apart outstanding and great is your team is elevated or your team is on a higher platform.
But the only position in football that really elevates your team is quarterback. The only singular position.
We've had a run of quarterbacks really in the last 10 or 15 years.
Nah, true.
More quarterback than anything for that very reason. I think that the biggest thing we have to understand is the Heisman is more important than the other ones because it gets hyped up by college more than the other ones. I think college football has planned on making the Heisman something that is an award that is college football specific. You talk about the Doak Walker Award. You talk about the Outland Trophy, which is for the best offensive lineman. I just want to throw that out there. You're talking about a guy who is the best at his position, produced most of his position, is a guy, Biletnikoff, the guy that you expect to have the best future going forward. You know, in the talk of senior superlatives, if we go to the high school route, these are the most likely to succeed versus the Heisman just being the one who's most popular. Tim Tebow is the most popular college football player the year he won a Heisman. Doesn't necessarily mean he was the best at anything. So it's something that has been created by the NCAA to be their popularity award. These guys may not have a huge future. Ron Dane, you could watch him play and know he wasn't all that great. But Ron Dane was gigantic, just like Derrick Henry. Not to say Derrick Henry's not going to have an NFL career. I think it's too early to tell. But both of those guys were guys that were just big as hell. And anytime they touch the ball, they're going to run people over. That's cool to see. It's really entertaining to talk about a 6'3", 255-pound running back, talking about Derrick Henry now getting 40 carries a game and rush for 258 yards. That doesn't necessarily mean he's the best player. But when you got a team that's steamrolling players, a team that's steamrolling other teams, and one guy on a team who's physically steamrolling people, it gets a lot more attention. If we put more emphasis on how these players played and what they projected, it would change the entire view of college football. On a weekly basis, what they do is focus on, what guys are doing at college. The NCAA doesn't want you to talk about where these guys project in the NFL. They want you to focus on the moment. And that is part of why the Heisman is so exciting for college.
Yeah, I gotta say I agree with that perspective that it's for college. A lot of people have revisionist history looking back on these guys and what they did in the NFL. You got to look at what they did in college. You look at what Winston did, what Manziel did, RG3, Cam, even him.
Punk ass.
even him. They all did something in college. They were all great in college. We got to remember, it's a college award. It's not best college player that's going to project it to the NFL. It's the best college player.
It's an overrated award.
Agreed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the same thing with All-American in college basketball. It doesn't mean that you're going to go to the NBA and be an all-star. It just means that you had a hell of a year playing college basketball. So are we going for the last one? Or?
I don't think it's overrated.
Yeah, let's do it. Fuck it.
All right. So last topic is our picks for the most valuable player or position for the NFL right now. Going into did we just finish week 9 or week 10? I think week 10. Either way.
We don't even know. That's how bad the NFL is. We don't even know what week it is.
It's just been long. Anyway,
weeks too.
Yeah. In lieu of picking a particular player, because I haven't been overwhelmingly impressed by any one player in the NFL this year, I thought I would go an unconventional route. And again, I may be biased as an offensive lineman, but my MVP pick going into week 11 in the season is the Cowboys offensive line.
Man, I was going to say that. I hate you.
That's what I was talking about, that Ezekiel Elliott thing.
Yeah, I was going to say Ezekiel Elliott is the third rookie in the history of the NFL to rush for 1,000 yards in his first 9 games. Adrian Peterson and Eric Dickerson were the other two. Those two guys turned out to be pretty decent. And a big part of that is Ezekiel Elliott's talent and his speed, but a lot of it is also the fact that offensive line has been great. In the Steelers game this past weekend, Ezekiel Elliott, I don't know why I can't say his name right now. Ezekiel Elliott scored 3 touchdowns, and he was not touched on any of them. Obviously, his speed plays a part in that, but he's got huge holes to run through that the offensive line is opening up for him. If you believe in Pro Football Focus, and I know a lot of people, question the way they rank, but if you listen to Pro Football Focus, 3 of the Cowboys offensive linemen are ranked in the top 10 of their position. That's pretty unheard of when you really think about it. Tyron Smith, a lot of people will argue, is the best left tackle. I'm pretty biased towards mine, and there's not much you can do about that. But anyway, they have had only 15% of their running plays stopped at or behind the line of scrimmage up to this point in the season.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane.
They've allowed the 3rd fewest sacks, hits, and hurries on the quarterback this season. So they're not just protecting the run well, they're protecting quarterbacks as well. One of the things people talked about for them last year was that they were only really a run and blocking line. And really, honestly, since Ronald Leary has taken over for Lyle Collins, have they started to do both better? I don't know if that's a connection equals causality thing or just a coincidence, but they over the last 5 weeks, I think, since Collins has been hurt, they've done a lot better in pass protection. The Giants' offensive line in 2008 was the last offensive line to be in a conversation for MVP. They gave up sack on 5% of plays that year. The Cowboys right now are giving up 4.4% sack rate. So that's even better. The Giants that year converted 67% of third and fourth down runs of two or less yards for touchdowns or first downs. And the Cowboys are right now converting 72%. They are doing something I think that you haven't really seen, probably won't see anywhere else anytime soon. Part of the reason why you've got two rookies having the seasons that they're having individually is because of the fact that they just have a lot of time. Dak Prescott's passer rating under pressure versus unpressured is literally 50 points higher. It's 120 to, I think it was like 73. So it's not literally 50 points, but it's really close. And that just goes to show the importance of them keeping him safe and upright. It's funny you say, you know, that protection that he's getting when Tony Romo keeps finding ways to get hurt, but that's neither here nor there. The Cowboys offensive line is providing space for an offense to do something that you really don't ever see in today's NFL, and that's having two rookies succeed at the same time. And I think because of that, they should be in the conversation for MVP. And Purvis, you up next?
Yeah, my MVP, I'm gonna go unconventional as well instead of naming players because, as we've said so many times this year, NFL product is not up to standard this year. My MVP will be the NFL's extra points. The system is the NFL.
Oh my
This
God.
season, have you not watched so many games? These guys missing extra point field goals. Last week, Pittsburgh going for 2-point conversions 4 times and making none. Last year, the extra point was moved back, and it was at the lowest extra point percentage in league history, like 92%. I believe it's going to be under 90% this year because so far you have teams that are either missing that extra point or saying, okay, let's risk it and go for 2, and they're not making that 2-pointer as well either. Matter of fact, the Dallas versus Pittsburgh game, Pittsburgh missed 4 2-point conversions and Dallas missed 2 2-point conversions. So that's 6 conversions that could have been points, could have been 1 point if the extra point wasn't back to 15 yards. If maybe there was some type of trust in the kickers in the league. But it's shown that this season there's been a lot of games that have been decided by less than 3 or 4 points. Awkward numbers of points, actually, because teams are losing points early by missing extra points. You can't even rely – teams are scoring, and they can't even rely that scoring is going to give you points. Was it – I'm trying to remember the game. I want to say it was Denver and Saints where they went to kick the extra point. It got blocked, picked up, and taken back the other way.
Yep.
That doesn't
– was.
Yes, I mean, was. I think that doesn't happen on a chip shot, but it still might happen. But there's an extra, like, people are trying harder to block these extra points now because it's a little bit harder. You're putting a little bit more pressure on those kickers, makes the kick go a little bit to the right, and they don't make it. Where it used to be, you just kind of line up and just kind of kick it. It needs to do away with it or change the system back to what it was or something. But I feel bad for the players who are playing offense, scoring touchdowns, and then watching the field goal be missed or watching the team go for 2 and not make it. And then you're realizing that it changes how you go from that point in the rest of the game because your point system changes the management of when you're trying to get field goals and when you're trying to get touchdowns. And basically that system is changing the entire league this year. And it's the most consistent thing I've seen.
I mean, when you look at that Saints game, it lost the Saints the game.
Yep.
I like to look at it as it won the Broncos the game.
I wholeheartedly believe that if Pittsburgh had not went for all those 2-pointers in that game, they would have beat Dallas. It would have been a different situation at the end of that game, and they would have beat Dallas because they would have been playing keep away instead of catch up. And that's a deciding factor. That game might be what keeps Pittsburgh out of the playoffs.
Maybe.
So, my choice for MVP is not a quarterback, and it's not extra points. I'm gonna say Julio Jones is the MVP, and the reason why I picked Julio Jones over Matt Ryan is because I feel like, I don't want to say rare, but this is one of the occasions where the wide receiver, even if the quarterback is really good, I think the wide receiver is better than the quarterback. Um, I think Julio Jones this year.
Yeah.
I think Julio Jones this year has been utterly dominant. Confession, I traded him in my fantasy league thinking that he was going to get hurt, and now I'm 3-7. So there you go. But right now he has 61 catches for 1,105 yards on 97 targets. So not only has he been catching a lot of, I mean, he has a lot of catches, and he has a lot of yards for 18.1. I wish he would get more TDs, but he's doing it in only 97 targets. So Kelvin Benjamin, he is not. I think that as the season goes on, he's going to continue to get the targets that he's getting, and to be that efficient as a number one wide receiver with all the coverage on you every single week really says a lot about his ability to separate, his ability to get open. And then once he gets the ball in his hands, for him to be that big, like he has game-breaking speed. I feel like with no major quarterbacks that are MVP candidates, maybe Tom Brady. I don't know how you give an MVP to a quarterback whose actions, even though it was a witch hunt, caused him to miss the first 4 games. If his production in 12 games outweighs everyone else's in 16, he should win it. But if you're on the bandwagon that you believe somebody has to play in all of the games or whatever, I think Julio Jones would be the choice. I really do. He's carried that Falcons offense, and he's helped elevate Matt Ryan. I feel like Matt Ryan's having the best season of his career, and I think a part of that because Julio was more efficient in the targets and things that he received. So I doubt he'll win it. I think this year Julio has eclipsed Antonio Brown as the best wide receiver. AB is still great, but I think Julio has been the best wide receiver in football this year.
He's been better than Brown.
I agree.
So I would say that Julio, it would be my MVP pick.
Okay.
Last but not least.
I'm going conventional as well. Julio is my pick. Well, is my pick as an individual player. As far as MVP of the league, I think he should get it for all the reasons that Turner said. And I got my mouth off while I say that. Get that out there. Agreeing with Turner. I'm going to go with rule changes. And my rule change is the kicking and punting. The kick return been terrible. The starting field position has been this year. It's down from years prior. As far as return yards, it's down from years prior. It's down from years prior, and that's due to the rule change of going to kickoffs, where now if you fair catch it or it's a touchback, you get at the 25-yard line rather than the 20-yard line in years past, which is the new rule change that's just coming up. Now, with this changes, you've seen a significant decrease in people returning kicks. Matter of fact, last year, the returning kicks were the Oakland 53 year, and this year it's down significantly, 20, 25. It's been bad as far as kickoffs have been this year, and that's my MVP.
No one heard anything you said, but I'm gonna assume because I feel like we know you well enough that we're just gonna assume that you were saying that the kickoff is a horrible situation they have going on. I can
Yes.
definitely agree with that.
Yo, I'm sitting here trying not to bust out laughing. Like, yo, I was like, yo, what is going on over there, man?
AT&T is a trip, man.
It's
Yeah, game. But we
I
can
do.
rest assured that Leonard Lynch just said words, and we're really excited about that. And
Yeah.
yo, your internet connection
Killing
needs a -5, bro.
Is it just me? Is Turner the only person stuck on -5? Like, he keeps finding ways to throw that in there.
Yeah.
That's because he was the
He's
last
having
one to get that negative
he's
3.
having
Man.
flashbacks.
Yo,
Yeah, he
'cause
was the last one to get them negatives.
Cause y'all tripping, man. Do we all agree that his internet connection is bad? Like, I should get?
I
I
would,
mean,
I would give him a -5 for that internet connection, though.
oh,
Yeah,
We have the highest internet connection for AT&T, and it's still terrible.
Saying the highest.
Anybody
you don't know what
watching
you got.
right now, if you have
what's the rate?
AT&T is terrible.
How many?
I
I
would-
get U-verse.
I would ask you though, like, do you have a lot of stuff playing right now? Like, do you have a lot of people?
No,
on the
everybody's
internet?
asleep. Nothing's connected to the internet except my
Dang.
phone.
You gotta turn that
Streaming.
off, man.
Nothing.
turn that off.
You gotta put that on airplane mode, bro.
Then I can't live tweet.
Right.
Okay.
You might be the wrong person to be doing our social media, man.
Don't do that.
Do it at home though. I don't do the
putting the
social
stress-
media at home except during the games.
Putting
During the
stress
game
on you.
though.
So
Yo,
You want-
I posted on my
As long as I'm
Facebook.
online, I'm good.
We can hear you now, though. You want to try to like say it again so I can cut it? Damn it! And it went back to freezing.
You see how
I really.
you see how that happened?
AT&T heard me. That's what it was.
Damn.
Real quick. We need to deport Miko Grimes. I just wanted to say that. Like, so this is what we gonna do, because we know if we shout her out, Lentz, if your phone is working, at her, Miko. I feel you on your comments to Sage still. I ain't like Sage's comments, but yo, you doing too much, man. Like, ain't no what. Listen. I'm not a misogynist. I'm all about equality for women and all of that. But yo, you need to sit your ass down.
I really don't want to get into a Twitter war with Miko Grimes either.
That's
though.
fine. I don't really be on Twitter like that anyway, except for the. But yo, she doing too much, man. Like, for real. Like, how you gonna tell? Come on, like, yo, like that was too much.
She was right though.
That's my
Right.
thing. I don't
Miko was
disagree with
100%
her
right.
point. She was absolutely right. But for her to then say all of that extra stuff that she said, no, that's what I don't appreciate.
I'm not gonna lie. I had to look up the name because y'all talk about this Miko Grimes. Like, I should know who this is.
I kind of have a.
This the wife?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's Brent Grimes' wife.
Don't get off of here talking about people's wives. Come on, man.
Listen, at some point, like,
Real housewives of the NFL, huh?
but and again, and she doesn't get the benefit of the doubt though. She doesn't get the benefit of the doubt because all of the other stuff that she did, she doesn't get the benefit of the doubt for that. If she would have just left it at, you know what, Sage Steele, you wrong. You shouldn't have said that. He has the right to protest his freedoms. Cool, no issues. But then
What did she say?
Then I mean, I'd rather not really say it on the air because it's really. I mean, you know, we all use foul language. This is pretty derogatory.
Yeah.
I would encourage you, P, to go look it up.
All right. I probably won't though.
I will say this. The one thing she did say that I will say on air, because she did say a lot of stuff that just really doesn't need to be. She started off calling Sage Steele a coon, and I really get sick of Black people calling each other, specifically that. But anytime a Black person disagrees with another Black person that's famous, we immediately start calling people, anything that equates to them being a traitor. Like being Black means that you can't disagree with another Black person.
You can't disagree.
Even though
you are preaching to the choir.
Like, what about being Black and famous? We complain about having to represent every Black person out when you're doing something in your regular life, but then we turn around and expect famous Black people to do just that. Just to if you famous and you Black, then everything you say has to agree with every, whatever has been created for being Black morals, you got to agree with it. Everything you said has to reflect everything every Black person feels. And that don't make no sense. If I don't want Black people in my job to look at me and expect me to do everything every other Black person does, why should we expect the same thing from every famous Black person?
Holla at Stacey Dash.
Oh God.
Yeah.
On that note,
I'm just gonna sip my tea.
Yeah, I don't know where you were going with that, but my point still remains.
I agree with you though. I agree with you. All Black people who don't agree with, they're not a coon because of that. Like I think that word is becoming overused. Like
absolutely.
That you can have your own opinion without being a coon. Now, in this particular case, what Sage Steele said. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily call her a coon. That had some coonish.
What do you mean coonish? What are you can't say coonish.
Yeah.
Here's my issue. I haven't not looked at pandering. It, but I do understand what Alan was saying. I feel that there should be no standard to any race, whether it be white, Black, Asian, anything else, that if I was to say something that disagrees with you, that I should attack your ethnicity, your race, your nationality, anything like that makes no sense. Because if that's what my response to something you said is to attack your actual nationality, ethnicity, or something to that, all I'm saying is that I'm an ignorant person and I don't actually have any valid opinions to say. And that's what sounds like Miko Grimes did, is if you retaliate and don't speak on the issue and you try to attack somebody by saying that you're not Black or you're a different type of Black because of what you said, you're basically saying I have nothing to say, so I'm going to attack something that really shouldn't ever be attacked. And all it does is bring us down as a whole. It doesn't make her sound more important. It doesn't make Sage Steele sound any less Black. It makes both of them look like fools. And there's some white guy looking at it on his Twitter like, look at these Black people being Black people. That's what I feel like it is. All you're doing is promoting what some people actually think is that we don't even know how to be together. And we don't even know how to have our show is agree to disagree. On this show, we disagree all the time, but we don't disrespect each other while we're disagreeing. And that's what people aren't doing. Is you can have a difference of opinion, but that does not mean you have to try to attack somebody's livelihood or character. The way that they do it is just an ignorant way, and it just makes us it holds us all down as a race. That's what really upsets me. That's why I will not look it up because oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I kind of disagree with that. I understand the premise that you're coming with, Purvis, but I disagree with that from the standpoint of why can't we infight and still be held up as a race? You see white people going at each other all the time on the news, on the radio, on television, but on Twitter, on everything, but it doesn't degrade the whole race because these two people went at each other.
But there's a difference.
So why is it when black does get disrespectful, it goes that far?
But there's a difference between fighting and saying, okay, I disagree with you, you're this or you're that. If she say, I mean, I'm just gonna put it out there. If she say something like you're a slut or you're a whore or something like that, she's maybe just attacking that person. But when she goes to use a racial slur against her own race, it becomes just it's strictly ignorant. You don't see Caucasians sitting there talking when they get in arguments saying, well, you honky this or you white trash that. Like they might attack that person.
Do say that.
Yeah, I was gonna
But
say
you
they
won't-
do say that. Yeah, that's not.
They do say white trash.
Also,
they don't say
I don't
honky
think
because that's not a derogatory term. But white trash, yeah.
I don't think white trash actually like is as offensive as us using the word coon and the other N word either. I think you have to look at
No,
it.
it's pretty equal actually.
You think so?
There's nothing you call a white person
and
that says
and me calling you
it's
coon.
black
You
people.
think that's equal?
No, I'm saying if
I could be wrong.
no, I'm saying
There's no derogatory term for a white person that's equal like that person.
That's my point exactly. I think there isn't an equal, and because of that, you have to be aware of that. To not be aware of it would be I think foolish to be like, well, we should act just like white people do when they argue. No, we're not the same. We have to own that first off. Is that no? There's a we need to act a different way because we're coming from a different situation. But if we don't feel that, then that's where we have the disconnect.
And I like I said, I agree with. Like I said, I agree. What she said. She shouldn't have called her a coon. But I hate the narrative. Well, not the narrative. Well, we have to hold it. Well, the old adage that we have to be 2 times, 10 times better than on equal footing, and that's where it is as far as us arguing. The reality of that's what it is in America today. But it's disheartening that it is still there.
I think
you have an out and out racist as the president.
I think what people really don't understand in this day and age that we live now is people really think that equality is fair and equal. I personally don't believe in equality because I don't think everyone is the same. I don't think everyone gets the same opportunities. It's not physically possible. Yet we still think that we should put everybody on equal plane. That's not what it is. You got to be realistic. And there's differences to different cultures, different races, different situations, depending on where you are, who you are, and what's going on. There's a difference. If you're a famous person, your life is going to be looked at differently than a non-famous person. You can ask for equality all you want to, but that's not what's going to happen. And what we fail to realize is that this is the way it is, and there is no changing that. People keep saying that we can change that, we can make that equal. In reality, you can't, because you trying to make it equal is what's making it unequal or unequal. I don't know that word. I messed up talking with that one.
I don't know if I agree that there isn't equality. I think I get what you're saying when you talk about famous people versus the regular folks. I do agree with that. But I think what we're trying to say is that there should be the same allowances for our race as there are other races. We should be able to fight and disagree and call each other name just like other races do. But I do agree, honestly, with Purvis that you don't have as many white people calling each other out because of their race or their background or whatever the case may be as you do black people. White people call each other out all the time, sure, but it's in a different way.
I don't know the way because I'm not white, so it's tough. We should get a guest star. Can we get a light skin out here so we get an opinion?
You said get the light skin out of here?
I like to call them white. I call them light skin. I'm dark skin, they light skin.
All right, well, whatever works for you.
I don't know a white person. I don't know a black person. Well, I do know a black person, but that's another thing.
Okay.
I'm brown, dark brown, but brown.
Wait, what?
I'm tripping, man.
I don't believe in saying that a color is my. I mean, if I'm gonna call somebody by a color, I'm gonna try to be accurate. I'm not black. Shit. I'm not that dark. I'm more of a mocha chocolate color, if anything.
Wow.
All right. On that note,
Hey, we went Miko Grimes. I thought we were just doing whatever.
I think it's about time.
I mean, once you invoke the word mocha, sit down, man.
Mocha chocolate.
Starbucks.
Right?
Let's go ahead and kill it before we start making even less sense. Because I don't know where we're going right now. Anyway,
I'll play Miko Grimes.
Anyway, thank all our viewers. Thank anybody who catches us on YouTube. If you guys have any questions or topics, find us on Facebook, tweet us on Twitter at Sports Politicen, or tweet one of us individually. You guys got to say, or any goodbyes to say?
Sorry, Miko. You don't have to sit your ass down. I shouldn't have said that.
Goodbye to freedom of speech with Trump in office.
Oh, God.
Damn.
All right. Yeah, we're done. We're done.
Somebody turn his internet connection off.